So once again, very happy evening. It's 7 p.m. and we are starting our session on the series of Upanishads for professionals. And this is the second in its series in the continuity where when we have requested Dr. Venkat Barlagaru to do the continuous series on the 10 core Upanishads, is being very kind enough to accept it, to have a brief 1 hour session which will be from 7 p.m. now to another 1 hour. So we will try to do it for about 45 minutes. And post 45 minutes, I think maybe you need to mute yourself, or shall I mute everybody? Okay. So, yes. All right. So that there is no sound. So this session is going to be a quick session for the professionals, for all of us to understand on the importance of the Upanishads. So like we were having a discussion with Dr. Venkat Barlagaru also, that fundamentally we don't come from the background of pure Vedic per se, because there is a tendency where we don't want to fall into this loop of thinking that we are pandits, or specifically looking in terms of the Vedic perspective, but we are looking the entire Upanishads from the perspective of the professional life and our personal life, how we employ this particular wisdom of the Upanishads in our daily life practices, such that we are able to perform better in our professional as well as in our personal lives. How do we grow and then strike that balance utilizing the wisdom of the Upanishads? So in this continued series, in the second series of this, Dr. Venkat Barlagaru will be giving us a very beautiful session with his top tips based on his research and studies on the Isopanishad. So without taking much time, I think I've just taken about 1 minute. I pass on the mic to Dr. Venkat Barlagaru. Sir, the stage is yours. Please unmute, sir.
People in the audience, good evening to everybody. Let me start this session by quoting a case study of Arunima Sinha. Most of us may be knowing that Arunima Sinha had ascended Himalayas and also several other peaks in the world, in Australia and other places. She was awarded Padma Bhushan, and she is an amputated lady. Her legs were removed in a train accident. She was traveling from Meerut to Delhi in Padmavati Express during the year 2011 in a cold winter. And suddenly some goons entered the train and started looting the passengers. Arunima Sinha was 22 and a half years old at that time, and she could not tolerate the loot which was going on in the compartment. She tried to resist the goons, and in the process, there was a tussle, and the goons threw her out of the running train. She fell on the tracks on the side. There was a train coming from the opposite side which ran over her legs. She was bleeding. The whole night she was on the tracks. Next morning she was picked up, hospitalized, amputated. 1 year later, she recovered. That morning she had a premonition, she had a thought that she would like to do something which is greatest in this world, and with determination she would be able to do. And she had chosen to ascend the Himalayan peak with her amputated leg. She joined Bachindra Pali Training Institute. Bachindra Pal is the first lady who ascended the peak. And near the foothills of Himalaya, on the Nepal border, we have this training center where young mountaineers are trained. Arunima Sinha joined the training institute, and one fine day after her training, she proved that with an amputated leg, she would be able to, she was on the peak of Himalaya. She had erected the Indian flag on Himalaya with her amputated leg. She was awarded Padma Bhushan and whatnot. It was a big news all over the world. And not only that, she had not stopped there. She went on to ascend the highest peaks in Australia and other places. This was case study number 1, which proves that with determination and dependence on the supreme power, the conscience, the ultimate Brahman, human beings would be able to achieve impossible things. The second case study is in my own house. My sister, who is elder to me, Nagabhushan Amma, lives in Palwancha. My brother-in-law passed away when 4 of her daughters, she had 4 daughters, 4 of her daughters were very young at primary school level. Akka decided that yes, I leave it to the God and I will fight it out. I will work hard. Even today, she wakes up at 4:30 in the morning, continues till 10 o'clock in the night. She performed the marriage of 3 of her daughters, and the 4th one is due to be married soon. The first daughter, Prasanna, is employed in Bhadrachalam Paperboard Public School. The second one is at Kothagudem. The third one is in Hyderabad. The 4th one is yet to be married. This case study also proves that there is an invisible force which is always behind you in whatever human effort which you do. And if that human effort is absolutely strong, speck-free, and excellent, you are sure to get the result. This is what the IAS toppers are telling. This is what I myself witnessed when I the CAT examination, when I passed the group discussion, when I passed the final interview without coaching, without any training, and got into IIM Ahmedabad way back in 1980. I still remember how God provoked me to do it on my own. Now but a lot of other people in my own house, my brother did not achieve any greater heights. He has become a high school teacher. We have seen in our families, in our companies, in your experience, each of the participants here may have seen the greatest success stories and the greatest failure stories as well in the own circles and also in corporate life. What is the difference? Why some people are able to do extraordinary things? Why some people are unable to do things? The only and only difference, according to my experience, I may be corrected, are 2 things. One is dependence on the supreme consciousness, on the supreme Brahman, who is ultimate mover of everything in this world, that we have seen in the first session when we defined Vedas and Upanishads. The second thing is the hard work, the work that you do, the excellence, the Six Sigma, the TQM, the 5S that you do in your companies is completely telling us that when you do something excellent, something extraordinary, if this process is perfect, then the end result is given. You do not have to own it. In the introduction to Isha Upanishad, we had said that you do things excellently and don't expect the final result, don't own the final result. It will come to you, it will be added to you. And we quoted the shloka Karmanya Vadika Raste Ma Phaleshu Kadachan. We had done that. So therefore, we have taken up this Isha Upanishad today, the first Upanishad in the top 10 Upanishads we selected. We are dealing with Isha Upanishad today. This Isha Upanishad is the shortest Upanishad, having about 17 or 18 shlokas altogether. That's all. And within that 17 or 18 shlokas, the Brahman, the supreme conscience, is telling us that I am here. I am here, as Lord Krishna said. You do your job. That's, you just do. So therefore, we have picked up this Isha Upanishad.
Hello, just a minute, sir. I think you are on a mute. Just hold on. Hello.
You may be a housewife, you may be a professor, you may be a general manager or a director of a company or having your own business. Whatever it is, the work that you do, how these two components of dependence on Brahman and doing things excellently, these two sides of the same coin, how we can, and a lot of us may be thinking that these are good words for telling and listening as a sermon, as a talk on the platform, but how can I implement in my day-to-day life? This is one big question, which I am sure from the audience, this question is going to come. Otherwise, we would also deal with it. Now, let me go back to the first Upanishad, Isha Upanishad. In this Upanishad, I had read through the commentary from Swami Chinmayanand, Swami Ranganathanand, the book references which I gave in the earlier session. From these readings, there are 9 principles which could be culled out from Isha Upanishad. I will first read out those 9 principles, then go on to explain one by one with life examples wherever possible. Now here we go, the 9 principles. Number 1, the conscious Lord and phenomenal nature. One side you have the Lord up above. On the other side you have the nature, which is day-to-day struggle, day-to-day life, and the materialistic world and the physical world. You have a dichotomy there. Number 2, renunciation and enjoyment. Now, we have seen sadhus and sannyasis and brahmarshis who renounce this life and go to Himalayas and do their tapasya and write these commentaries on Upanishads and things like that. But how a common man like you and me can renounce as well as derive enjoyment from life? The third one is action in this nature, in this materialistic world, and yet freedom from the soul. The fourth one, one stable Brahman, God which is unchangeable, the supreme conscience which is unmutable, and his multiple manifestations. He is unchangeable. That is unchangeable, but it is reflected in several changeable, mutable, multiple entities that we are into. How that is possible? The fifth one is being and becoming. What is the difference between being and becoming? Sixth one is the active Lord, the Lord who is very active, and the supreme power which is indifferent, which is called Akshara Brahman. The seventh one is Vidya and Avidya. What is the difference between Vidya and Avidya? Eighth one is birth and non-birth. Ninth one is work and knowledge. Even if we go to any other book also, any other commentary by Shankaracharya or any other writers, even those days, much ancient writers, we find only these 9 contradictions of this materialistic world, which this Upanishad is able to resolve. Unfortunately, we have the commentaries and discourses available in a common language in general English, which I was able to get hold and read. So let's go into this 9 one by one. The first one, the conscious Lord and phenomenal nature. It is said that the supreme Brahman, the conscious Lord, the unmutable ultimate power, created this nature, created you and me, created forests, created sun and moon and everything. Every physical entity is created. And why he created? That is his nature. To be multiple. That is his Leela. That is his Leela. To be multiple. He being one is his nature. Now, how this principle is useful to us? It is useful to us because whatever has happened, whichever problem, there is an invisible hand and there is a solution. In fact, in the morning, I had a session where I was telling, there is no problem in this world. Problem is perception of our ignorance. Through our ignorance, we are unable to understand a link, a connect. Therefore, we are calling it as a problem. But when you look at from the supreme power, the invisible hand, the Brahman's side, for him, is there any problem? There is no problem. Everything is a solution. Problem is the ignorance. Problem is nothing but manifestation of the ignorance that we have. So if you believe that there is no problem in this universe, there are only solutions, there are no problems. Whatever problem it is appearing to be, is my ignorance. Let me develop awareness. Let me improve my conscience. Let me collect data. Let me collect information. Let me enlarge my sixth sense, that I will be able to find a solution to the seemingly a problem. Otherwise, no problem. If you believe this, that a problem is not a problem, problem is my ignorance, there must be a bloody solution to this problem. Let me work for it. It could be domestic problem, घर का प्रॉब्लम हो सकता है, घाट का प्रॉब्लम हो सकता है, कॉर्पोरेट का हो सकता है, स्कूल का, कॉलेज का, whatever it is. A strong person, an evolved person, a person who is traveling above 35,000 feet above the earth, look at the Himalaya as a small entity. There's no problem of looking at Himalaya at all for him because he doesn't perceive it to be. I quoted this example in the previous session also. So therefore, this problem number one is telling us in the multiplicity of the supreme power, this nature, this Himalayas, this earth, sun, moon, everything and the problems thereof are lack of understanding. We have not been able to explore this universe. Therefore, to that extent, we are calling it as a problem. So let's leave it like that, that there are no problems in this universe, in this world, on this earth. God has made, the Brahman has made only solutions. For him, there are only solutions. In his language, there are no problems. Problems are in our language because there is a difference, there is a vacuum between him and us. How much you can fill, how much you can travel inward to the center, nearer to him, that much you are perceiving solutions instead of problems. So can we all understand that yes, it is, the world is full of solutions. There are no problems at all. Now, second is the issue, the second lesson that we have seen in the thing is renunciation and enjoyment. By enjoyment, what the Upanishad means is the fun of traveling towards the supreme conscience, away from the madding crowd, away from this day-to-day materialistic world. Although we are into this materialistic world, I do not believe that somebody like Gautam Buddha should go to a Lumbini thing and then attain moksha there only. I am trying to look at the possibility of being in this samsara, being in this materialistic world, and yet traveling towards the supreme power. In the previous session, we said traveling outside, which is our duty, do it well, amass wealth as per law of the land, go on adding your physical layers, but yet travel inside. You say that all this wealth which is coming to me, it's added to me because of my good work. It doesn't belong to me. I'm a custodian. I am a darwan. I'm a gatekeeper. It's okay. God has given me this. If God takes it away, also fine. You are moving towards that, then you will enjoy. Then you will not feel pain that promotion is not given to you. The other fellow got the promotion. You will not have that dugdha, you will not have that frustration at all. I have done my best. We have not won this World Cup. Good enough. Good enough. We will do it next time, but we have done our best. We are fully satisfied. So when you have this kind of a corporate personality, that I will do my best, I will enjoy my work. My work means my work and my travel towards the ultimate Brahman. I enjoy. And I exist only for that. God has sent me here. I have come here to realize Him. Somebody asked me in the last session, what is the purpose of life? I gave one-line answer. The purpose of life is to discover God. In the process, there will be plus and minus. There will be wealth. There will be no wealth. There will be children. There will be no children. There will be a husband and there will be no husband. It's okay, man. Whatever is coming to me in this materialistic world is given to me and taken from me. I don't belong to this materialistic world. I have come from there. I am going there. And during this process, whatever is with me, I am a custodian. So the renunciation, by renunciation, what we mean is detachment from the physical world. All of us have hell of a lot of attachment. My bank account, my car, my wife, all that. It's but natural in the materialistic world. But somewhere inside, although outside you may demonstrate the attachment, you have to love your wife, you have to love your children, you have to love your husband. But natural, you do that. You do this day to day tamasha, like N.T. Ramarao goes as Lord Krishna onto the stage and he really lives like Krishna, man. When he comes down from the stage and goes to his house, he's a normal man. He wears his lungi and then talks to his wife and talks to his children. So therefore, you do your work and have these possessions as temporary. Somebody has given you, somebody is going to a village and he had asked you to keep his ornaments in your house. You keep it for some time and give it back and go away. So therefore, I personally am feeling that it is possible to have that kind of detachment from the possessions, keeping the possessions with you. At the self level, at the supreme self level, have a sense of detachment and think of Him who has given you. All the problems will vanish. Most of the problems vanish. I can't explain. If I take on examples, it will kill time. But then this one, the detachment or renunciation, not going into Himalayas or Lumbini, but in this materialistic world, in this samsara itself, if you can have some kind of a detachment and travel towards Him inside, be a saint inside, be a corporate executive outside, have your tie, have your shoe, have your sari, have your beautiful dress, everything and go. But inside that body, can you keep a saint who doesn't have anything, who has no attachment with these things, who believes they are given to him for a temporary period, and who believes that his purpose of life only is to travel and find Him ultimately and vanish from this world? That sadhu, that saint, has to live inside you, somewhere in yourself, at the center. Although outside you are playing with this world, like N.T. Ramarao plays the role of Lord Krishna or Lord Rama. Do that. You know, it's very important. This world is a stage. We're all actors, Shakespeare said. So we have to come and act here. That's all. The third one is action in nature and freedom from the soul. Soul, as we said, first ring, your physical, second ring, your mind, third ring, your intellect, fourth ring is yourself. Up to that, you are included. In you are included these four rings. The fifth one is Paramatma, we said, the ultimate Brahman, we said. Now, freedom from the soul, what he means is, can you detach from these four rings and still do your work? Action in nature, freedom from the soul. Be away from all the four rings. Connect with the fifth ring. Fifth ring is the Supreme Brahman, which is the center. Those who are new may visualize that we are all analyzed into our personalities, analyzed into 5 concentric circles. The outer one, the physical world. Second one is the mind. Third one is the intellect. Fourth one is the self. And the fifth one is the Supreme Self, Atma and Antaratma. We said it in the last session. So for the sake of the newcomers, we have just recapped that. So you get free from that and do your work. You will enjoy. It's really, we will enjoy the work so much that there will be no problems. Every problem you will find to be a solution. Every irritant, everybody who is showing anger, you will be able to forgive, because you don't belong to this physical world. You are simply here, but you don't belong here. You belong there. When you're seeing from that end, in this thing, bhaad mein jaye, mere kya hai? Let everything happen, yeah. Mere kuch nahi hota. Nothing will happen to me. I don't belong here. I belong there. That feeling, that belongingness of inner self connected to the up there and outer self connected to the day-to-day things out here will help us to come out of this Maya, which is happening. That's why the third one, he said, do action in nature and freedom from the soul. The fourth one is the stable Brahman and the multiple movement. Like if you visualize Dashawataras, okay? Dharma samsthapanarthaya sambhavan yuge. What he does is, whenever there is a need to re-establish dharma, he will come in some form. And he will make his representations through some people. Bhagavan Satyasai in Puttaparthi, for example. Sri Ramakrishna Paramahamsula Varu, for example. Tulsidas, another example. These are all the Annamacharya. These are all the human beings through whom he played his Leelas. So his multiple movements will be visible through several people time to time. That is his Leela. That's the Leela of the Supreme. But he is unmutable. It's not that just because he is reflecting in so many avatars on this earth, he is diffused. No, he is not diffused. He is eternal source. He is unmutable. He is unchangeable. He is nirguna. But yet, he is visible in all these things. There is stable Brahman and multiple movement. What we need to learn from this is I belong to that. Nothing can shake me. Nothing can shake me in this world. At the most, you will kill me. You will kill this physical body, but you cannot kill me because I belong there inside. He is living me and I belong there. Jo karna hai kar lo. Do whatever. It doesn't matter to me. I'm a Himalaya. I'm a rock. No rain, no fire can destroy me. Can you be a person of that personality? You will be able to handle huge projects. You will look like a person having 1,000 hands and 1,000 brains. You will handle problems very easily. That's what it is telling us. Be stable Brahman and multiple movements. The next one is being and becoming. By being, what again he means is be there, be connected to the Supreme Brahman, and you evolve in this physical world as you would like to evolve. You add fourth ring, fifth ring, sixth ring, nth ring, no problem, as long as it is as per the law of the land. You become whatever you want. You become a sadhu, or you become Dhirubhai Ambani, you become Mukesh Ambani, whatever it is. You know how religious, how spiritual Mukesh Ambani is. He doesn't have to be so spiritual. He's got all the wealth. He understands that all this wealth is added to him, and he's the custodian. Honestly, he's the custodian, and he belongs there. He is there. His being is there, but he's becoming everything different. He's adding so many companies. He's multiplying so many companies. Keep on doing that. So being and becoming is a strong attachment to the ultimate Brahman, and keep on doing your work. Grow and grow. This is the meaning I am drawing for the corporate world. If you don't have that link to the Brahman, you will be subdued, you will be destroyed by the pressures, by the stress, by the neighbors, and whatnot. This materialistic world will consume you. Simply, it will consume you. Therefore, have that connect. Being and becoming. Number 6. The action lord and indifferent Brahman. Now here, we have invented a word called God, G-O-D. Mr. Niranjan Rao told me that, sir, God is the word which is invented by man. Yes, I agree with him. And this is the power which we visualize. Whatever you don't understand in nature, you call God, Einstein said. That God is your God, whom you perceive differently. The God of that religion, God of this religion, God of third religion, and whatnot. This God is a polluted God. Above all that, you have an indifferent Brahman, who is the ultimate, from whom everything else has come. There are intermittent gods whom we have created for our convenience, because all of us would like to be one group, so we called him our God. Those other fellows wanted to have third group, they created their God. That's how the humanity have come out with multiple gods, and they're fighting and destroying themselves. That's what we are saying. Please let us believe that these action gods are different and the ultimate God is one. When you believe that, if your employees are coming from different faiths, you would love to respect them. Ramakrishna Paramahamsa lived as a Muslim for 18 years. He went to mosque. He every day, 5 times a day, he had his prayer. Another 20 years, he was a Christian. He used to go to church. The rest of his life, he was Hindu, he was going to temple. Somebody asked Ramakrishna Varu, Sir, Swami, why all this? He said, I wanted to discover what is the difference. Then he was asked, what did you find? I found this: the active Lord and the indifferent Brahman. Unchangeable Brahman who's ultimate one. Whereas descendants have been created by us. All these names, all these murtis, all these things which we are giving names, God has no name. The Supreme Brahman has no name. That's why Mr. Naranjan said, Sir, don't use the word God. Because that God belongs to the worldly stuff, whom human beings have created. So let's be above that. When you are above that, when your employees belong to different religions, how does it matter to you? Will you promote somebody and don't promote somebody else? Today, in most professional companies also, I am seeing this bias. I am seeing this religious factor. I am seeing this caste factor. You may say that, sir, it will not go from our society. What you are saying is a philosophy and what we are seeing is a reality. Yes, what I am saying is a philosophy. What you are seeing is a reality. You will be happy. You will be different. You don't have to be same as 99 people. You can be the 100th person. Normally our habit is, सब लोग ऐसा ही कर रहे हैं, सब लोग पी रहे हैं, सब लोग मस्ती कर रहे हैं. Everybody is coming on the road. Therefore, I will go. You go and see what is. Can you be different? You will be different because you have hooked up there. You will see these things as ants and bees. As somebody is a joker, somebody is a hero, somebody is a villain, somebody is a heroine, somebody is a dancer. Let them do their role. They are doing their roles. You are immutable. You are big. You are very big. When you do that, the action Lord, the God of this world will not bother you. It will not bother you at all. That's why Jiddu Krishnamurti, he did not join any of these schools of thought. He joined Balvsky, and all his philosophy, he preached only this, the ultimate Brahman. And so is President Radhakrishnan, who is a great philosopher also, who is from Madras Christian College, where I am teaching. And it was a pleasure to sit in his chair, to sit in his tables where he moved. He was from philosophy department, which is adjoining our management department in Madras Christian College. I could realize that these are the people who connected themselves to the ultimate, although they are playing the roles here. These gods do not mean anything to you. You will be able to see all your employees equally. There's nobody like Chandala. There's nobody like the Supreme. All these Chaturvarnas do not mean anything. They are the man-made evils. You will say, because you are above. You are above all this. So now number 7. Vidya and Avidya. All the knowledge of this world which we are acquiring is avidya. Vidya is the inside journey is vidya, the outside journey is avidya. The more you travel outside, more are you away from the center. More you travel inside, nearer are you to the center. Simple. You are all learned people. I do not have to explain this in many words. But Vidya and Avidya is very, very clear. All this which we are doing and seeing and discovering, all this is only for creating wealth, material wealth. But when you don't want it, when you detach from it, how does it matter to you? I mean, don't you call it as avidya? Don't you call it as something different than what you want to do? You want to travel inside, but you are traveling outside. ठीक है, बाहर भी जाएंगे, लेकिन अपन अंदर रहेंगे. I will be towards in also. So this knowledge, this awareness of Vidya and Avidya is extremely important. And please be away, please be above from this madding crowd. You will be able to, but there will be persecution. Your family members will persecute you. Your friends will persecute you. You will undergo troubles. Can you enjoy those troubles? Because they're all things which are happening here. They are certain to happen, not troubles. They are goings on in this routine world. मेरे कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं, फर्क नहीं पड़ता. It may cause pain to this physical body, to my mind, to my heart, or to my physical body. But this physical body is nothing. इससे मेरे को क्या करना है? I am temporarily living in this rented house. This rented house will go away. So, मेरे को फर्क नहीं पड़ेगा. That is the understanding. If you have, then all these pains and miseries really will not bother us. You will be able to take any decisions dispassionately. In English, we have that word called dispassionate analysis, without any bias, without any feelings, without any me. In that analysis, I will be able to, because I am distant, I am away, I am not in the situation, I am above the situation. So that situation, that anger, that feeling which is there in that problem or situation doesn't belong to me, I am away. I will be able to analytically see it, dispassionately see it. I can take correct decisions. The 8th one is birth and non-birth. Birth is belonging to this physical body, which will take birth, which will go away. Again, you will take birth, don't take birth, whatever it is. But your soul and your super soul is permanent. You are a permanent entity. If you believe that you are a permanent entity, then these pains and pleasures and these things really doesn't matter. The Australia side, India side are playing cricket, but the umpire who is there, for him it doesn't matter. I mean, who wins, who makes sixer, he doesn't even, all of us are shouting because we have emotion, but he doesn't shout. He doesn't shout, he doesn't care who makes, okay, Australia wins, India wins, doesn't matter for him. He is dispassionate. No feelings for him. He will appreciate at the most, okay, good shot, well done. Kind of. After that too, not after that, he'll say, well done, kind of. Can you be that? Can you have that kind of a maturity? That your soul is taking a journey through this body into another body, and Ededu Janmalu, whatever it is, it's immutable, it's unchangeable, it has no birth and rebirth, it's one only. It's passing through several clouds. Simple. It is passing through several clouds. Then that is a personality which these people have. The great people whom we recounted, they do have that. They may look like wearing ties and shoes, but the inner, they are the saints. They have a good understanding of all these things. And finally, works and knowledge. Knowledge of Brahman, the works that you do, knowing that you do it. I am doing it in Christian mythology, in Bible. They say everything they do in the name of the Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. Everything you do for Him, everything you do by Him. You are only an instrument that you are doing, and do it well. As we said in the first point, do it very well. So this kind of analysis through these 9 points finally have been distilled and nichod jo karte hain, distilled into 2 philosophies. One is the Advaita philosophy. The other is Dvaita philosophy. Madhavacharya proposed Dvaita philosophy. Shankaracharya proposed Advaita philosophy. And I believe a combination of both. Advaita philosophy says, I am no different than that ultimate power. I am only a sprinkled water. If you take a pile of water and throw into the air, there are globules. Each one of us is that globule who belong to the oceanic water. I am no different. Dvaita. I am not dual. I am one. Madhavacharya said Dvaita. Prakriti and Purush. Purush is the ultimate Brahman. Prakriti is the creation and the physical world. 2 sides of the same coin. To me, today, both are looking different, both are looking same, though appearing different. But ultimately, we are learning the Dvaita and Advaita. So let us go for discussion. Let us take some questions, because this is a dry subject which will not have PPT, which will not have exciting examples and claps and things like that. It's not like a regular classroom, but I'd like to make it so brief that we can take some interesting questions and wind up this session. So I would thank each one of you for patiently hearing this 30-35 minutes or 40 minutes, whatever. And thank you, Niranjan Garu. Thank you, Dr. Lakshmi Garu, and other learned people who have come here. And my session has been made more meaningful by your presence. And wish you all the best. God bless you. Sarve Jana Sukhino Bhavantu. Over to you, Niranjan.
Thank you, Barla sir. It is very excellent session, sir.
Thank you, madam.
So thank you, Dr. Venkat Barla Garu. It's been a wonderful session.
Sir, sir, I am Kavita Ramesh. May I ask a question? Huh?
Yes,
Anji, Anji, yes.
please go ahead.
Sir, I am Kavita Ramesh. Hello.
Yeah, Kavita Garu, please go ahead.
Sir, all in a sudden, sir, may I start?
Yeah, please go
Yeah.
ahead.
Sir,
Start.
all in a sudden, how can we detach ourselves from this materialistic world? Okay, even if I detach myself, not showing too much attachment with this outside world, people may keep me aside saying that this lady seems to be inhuman, not showing any emotion. How can we? How can I survive in this world without their support and love? I need to show my love, affection, sometimes to my family wherever they have to be shown. If I keep stable always, the people with me may take me for granted. How can I control them if when they go wrong? Nowadays, children listen, never listen was in a single thing. Unless and until if I show some anger on in my words. How can I detach myself, sir?
Madam, thank you very much for this question. It's a wonderful thing. It's
I
a
may
good.
be, sir, I may be treated abnormal, no? I may be treated abnormal.
You have asked a very meaningful question, which is the question of each one of us.
Yes, sir, of
One
course.
of us has that question. Thank you for asking this question, madam. My answer is you are attached inside but attached outside. Now, outside you have all the love and affection, you have all the desire for materialistic things, you go on buying the assets, you create liabilities and assets, no problem. But inside, the center of your personality, can you be a saint? Can you be a sadhu? No problem. The day you believe that you are a saint inside and a giant outside, no problem. It is very easy to show your love to the children, show your love to the possessions and assets. Yet you have a belief inside that it doesn't belong to me. It's given to me for some time.
Oh.
Cultivate. It is a question of cultivating that personality. It is not a sudden.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Sorry, sir. May I interrupt?
Okay, sir. Okay, sir. I try to practice, sir. I try to practice. Thank you.
Thank you.
Dr. Barlagar, shall I add something to this question? Answer?
Yes.
Yeah. Coconut is the best example for the as an answer to the question now. Coconut, the flesh being inside the shell itself, being detached slowly from the shell as well as from the water inside. That way, being in family itself or being attached with the family itself, we can develop our culture in such a way to be detached internally. Means paving a path to the Brahman.
I agree with you, Chandugaru. I agree with you.
Yeah, thank you.
So I think that was a good explanation as well. This is one of the important challenges as well, which we face on a regular basis. I think where we face this challenge of being attached and detached at the same time. So if we want to do this, what we have to be working upon is on our own activities on a moment to moment basis. Every time, every second, we got to ask ourselves, am I attached now? So the moment we ask this question to ourselves on every moment, when we are performing an activity, I ask myself, am I attached to this? Am I attached at my mental level? Like what Dr. Venkat Barlagaru has highlighted in his previous session of the 5 steps model of ourselves. So we ask ourselves this question, am I attached at the mental level? Am I attached at the emotional level? Am I attached at the soul level? At what level am I attached? Or then we start slowly working on how to work with the activity being detached. It automatically comes. We don't need to really put a lot of effort to be detached. We need to put effort in becoming aware of our situation. The moment we are aware on our situation and we analyze it, because we are all professionals, see, we handle various levels of thought processes. We make a lot of decisions, both in our professional as well as in our personal levels. All it takes is to draw our attention and our focus on the issue, on the point at all these levels. The moment we practice it, whoop, the magic happens. I think that's what is my thought process on that. Please do share any other good questions so that Dr. Venkat Barla Garu can answer, and I'm putting him on the spotlight.
Yes, sir. Anything from Dr. P.V. Rao Garu or other friends? Krishna Sharma Garu, a lot of people are here.
There is a good question in the discussion here, where this is from Mr. Dilip. He's posted a question saying, most of the questions arise in me are coming from the mind. How to transcend the mind? That's the question, Dr. Venkat Barla Garu, from Mr. Dilip. He's posted it all. He's asking the question. Shall I repeat the question?
No, first of all, unmute the, there is some sound coming on the background. Can you unmute all people?
అదే చూద్దాం.
Yeah.
నాకు OBS ఏదో ట్రై చేస్తాను.
Let me mute all first. Okay, I think I muted everybody. Now the question from Mr. Dilip is this. Most of the questions arising in me are coming from the mind. How to transcend the mind? This is the question, Dr. Venkat Barla Garu. I'm putting on the spotlight.
Now the only answer is you have to imagine these 5 concentric circles, and mind is only at the second level. Outer level is the physical body. The second level is the mind. You have intellect, you have self, and you have super self. So therefore, you assume yourself to be something beyond than what you are considering yourself to be. I am not only Venkat Barla. I am something outside. I am Venkat Barla. I am inside. I am Brahman. I am something different, connected somewhere else. So when I have this belief, I will do my role on this stage very well, and it's easy for me to go back to my, like N.T. Ramarao Garu goes back home and gets onto his lungi, and when he comes to the stage, he wears all those ornaments, appears like Rama. You do that. You have to do that. It may take time. It may be a question of the internal introspection and traveling inside, and a lot of discourses we need to listen and practice and things like that. But this is the only answer. Whether Sri Parthasarathy Garu tells or Sunita Garu tells, or wherever you listen, the only answer is that you have to play like N.T. Ramarao. At home, different. So inside you are different, outside you are different. Outside you play or do all your activities. I am not saying no. In the entire the ancient history of India or the world ancient history, we see people who have left this and gone to Himalayas and places like that and do their penance and tapasya. It is wrong. I would say, usse kuch nahi hone wala hai. You can only write books. Like Gautam Buddha has left a lot of legacy behind. But what happened? How much world has changed since then to now? In 2000 years, how the world has gone astray, we know, because these complete renunciations from this world and going to Himalayas, and from there telling mankind something, oh, this is Brahmin and you practice this, I am going away, this is my book or Bible, you follow this. Usse kuch nahi hone wala hai. You have to be here, practice, show to the people. Then you are a real sadhu. This is what this Upanishad is telling us. Most of us don't understand this, but this Upanishad is definitely telling us that you travel outside as well as inside. You don't have to leave this world and go to Himalayas. उससे कुछ नहीं होने वाला है. A new theory we are bringing, that while you are doing your day-to-day corporate life, be a sadhu inside, have detachment inside. People like Mukesh Ambani do have that today. If you go to Narayana Swami, for example, Sudha Murthy gave a big speech in Mysore when she was addressing the Devadasis. You know, she spent all her money on bringing transformation to Devadasis, and there is no Devadasi system in Mysore today. And Sudha Murthy Garu is the person who did that. And she was talking in one of the sessions that you don't attach so much to this physical thing, yeah. You belong to that. Nothing will bother you. Don't consider yourself as concubines of some people, which you have been. This body is nothing. You are a supreme Brahman. Awake, and live your new life, she said. That is how the Devadasi system in Mysore is transformed today into a thriving, a bustling village. And this is a standing example. So I may not be able to have done that, and you may not be able to have been doing that. But the question is, a new philosophy that we are proposing, that while living here, while doing all these things, it is possible to practice the inner Brahman. When you do that, you will not have so much attachment. You will not do so much papas, so much crimes. People don't do. Because if you are able to transmit this idea that each human being is a part of the Brahman, why so many crimes will be there? It will not be there at all. That is the prakshalana that we have to do. That is the cleaning that has to happen. We have gone wrong in the last 2000 years. Absolutely gone case is the world today. We have to reconstruct this world. That is why Niranjan has started this, I believe. Thank you, Niranjan Garu. Thank you very much. Yeah, over to you.
Yes. Just give me a second, sir. I think that's very well explained, because the kind of questions which we are having constantly is to identify where is our being and what is our structure. I think the Ishopanishad, it's being very well identified here by Dr. Venkat Ballagaru. He's highlighted the 9 pointers, which is a summary of the 18 shlokas which is there in the Ishopanishad, which is the shortest Upanishad. Practically speaking, I think we got to look into the shlokas from the perspective of the application in our daily life, both in professional as well as in our personal lives. I think once we do that, we are able to better ourselves and perform better both in at professional as well as the personal life. I think that's our basic fundamental goal. And this session, as the beginner's guide, Ishopanishad, that Dr. Venkat Ballagaru has titled it very nice, that this is Ishopanishad for corporate lifestyle as a beginner's guide. See, this is a beginning. This is giving only insights for us, though we have experienced it at our own levels through our own studies or following different gurus or different patterns and all those things. But this is our session of practice to reinforce to ourselves, to think, to reconsider our actions in our daily lifestyle. I think this has been a very good session.
Niranjan Garu, there is one audience, there is one member in the audience, a very senior member in the audience, Mr. S.R. Tulsi. Maybe you may request Mr. Tulsi Garu to give his observations.
Yes, Tulsi Garu, please,
Can I speak?
Can you
Can I-
please start your video, sir, so we can see you?
Okay. I would like to.
Yeah.
I
let me
would
put
like
you on the
to.
spotlight. Just give me a second, sir.
Yeah. I'm not able to.
Yeah.
My video is stopped.
No, you are
I
there
do
now.
not know why. I do not know why.
Yeah. You
But-
are there.
You can speak, sir. We are able to hear you,
We
Tulsi
are able
Garu.
to hear you.
Very good. I have just I have two observations to make. Two observations. Can people hear me? Can people hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll just share my thoughts. Isavasya Upanishad or any Upanishad fundamentally deals with a question, Koham, who am I? That question is, in fact, more interesting than exploring God. We can explore God later. First, explore yourself. Because you are seeing yourself. You're not seeing God. You're seeing yourself. Explore yourself. The question to ask is, who am I? The Sanskrit says, Koham, who am I? Ka aham. Aham means me. Ka, who is he? Now the answer Hindu philosophy gave, or I won't even call it Hindu philosophy, I'll call it Sanatana Dharma. Sanatana Dharma gave is, you are not this, you are not this, you are not this. What is it you are not? You are not body. You are not mind. You are not intellect. Then what is it I am? That is the word Atma. So even Isavasyopanishad explores what is this Atma? What is meant by Atma? All the 18 questions in Isavasyopanishad ask this question, who is this Atma? Who am I? Ultimately, it finds an answer on the 18th mantra, Purnamadam, Purnamidam, Purnat, Purnamudachyate, Purnasya, Purnamadaya, Purnamevava Vasishyate. This is the essence of, in my opinion, the Isaupanishad. The God is Paripurna, but don't assume this world is not Paripurna. Even this world is Paripurna. From the Paripurna God, this world has emerged. Though from God, the locum, the world emerged, God remains Paripurna. God is not reduced just because the world has gone out of him. No. The example this beautiful Upanishad gives is, there are, in fact, I'm just opening that Upanishad, and says that there are 3 examples. I will quote one example. In a tree, you will find flowers. Each flower is complete in itself. Even so many flowers are there, the tree is also complete. The flowers fall down, but the tree produces flowers again and again. This Upanishad says we are like those flowers. The Bhagavan, the God, is like the tree. We have come from him and we will go to him. The essence is, if you know and if you think everyone else is also from him, then there will be no enmity. There will be no enmity is also told in this Upanishads. in a particular sloka. Let me see that. It is simply beautiful. It is so good. I feel like reproducing that. No, give me just a minute to open that. Yeah. Yastu sarvani bhutan atmane vyanupasyati sarva bhuteshu chatmanam tatona vi jugupsate. Whoever can see amongst all the human beings the same Atma, he will not hate anybody. That is the essence of Isavasya Upanishad. I believe it is beyond a particular religious teaching. It says, look at every human being as a creation from God. And that is the essence. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Wonderful explanation, Tulsi Garu. I really like it. Admire you, salute you. Thank you very much.
Nice, very nice explanation, in fact. So I think we have one of the questions again from Dilip Garu, where he is asking, can I ask Mr. Dilip Garu to put yourself on video so I can put you on the spotlight? Mr. Dilip? Mr. Dilip, are you there?
Yeah, we are able to see him.
Okay, I think, yes, sir, you are there on the spotlight. Please go ahead. Dilip Garu, meeku prashna undali. Please continue.
My question is, the theoretical part, all the analogies and everything is clear to us, but the layers and different layers of I'm not this, I'm not that. Finally, you boil down to I am this. Okay, that is in terms of theory, everything is clear. But practically, how to reach to that? I mean, how do I manifest myself to get into that mode? That is my question.
Yes, sir. Dr. Venkat Barla Garu, over to you.
I'm trying to. Dilip Saab, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. I can hear you clearly.
Yes, okay. Now the whatever we talked about is the experience of people who have written this. They have shown it is possible. They have shown it is possible to live both. I have in my life, in my personal life, I have undergone a lot of problems. But after reading this book, Upanishattula Sandesham by Swami Ranganathanand, the message of Upanishads, the message of Upanishads available in Ramakrishna Math. After reading this book, I was able to elevate myself into higher platforms while I am living the same life. My stress has reduced. My sister, who has risen 4 girls and 3 are married, and the other girl, that I amputated girl that I gave the example, are the cases where it has been possible to implement these theories and achieve success to an extent depending on the effort. But it is possible, Dilip Sahab. It is not, it may look like impossible today, but in Upanishadic language, the word problem doesn't exist. The word solution only exists, because in the God's creation, it's all perfect. It's a perfect, there's no imperfection in this universe. It's all perceived by us. So one by one, if we go on understanding and start implementing, we would be able to, I think, elevate ourselves and improve our personality. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
So if I may add some points there, Sam.
Yeah.
Now, the question is on how do we improve ourselves to the next level when we are working on it. Again, I'd like to drive the points back to the Isopanishad, where it says these are the two dangers and darknesses that we have, which is avidya, number one. The moment there is avidya, means there is no knowledge, we are in darkness. So we will not be able to elevate ourselves. So the first step we have to do is to realize, bring it to our awareness on this issue that I want to improve myself or I want to elevate myself. This awareness is important. This happens at the level of the thought first. The moment we are aware on the thought process, then immediately, boop, the thought strikes. So that's the first step on the how part. To bring the awareness to the question that I am not aware of this, and then you become aware of it. So the Isopanishad very clearly says these are the two dangers. Number one danger is avidya. So we got to acquire vidya. Upanishad also warns there. It says that the moment you are in vidya, you have the vidya of it, you are at greater risk. Your risk is even more greater. And the only person who is able to transgress or move above these things is having a knowledge of avidya, gaining the knowledge, and then transcribing that particular thing and balancing both of them. Avidya and vidya at the same instance, we start practicing. It is practice, 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 practice. We put this into practice in our professional life or in our personal life. We are already moving to the next level. We become aware. I think that's the shloka. And how, as a brief effort, what I've done is I've made a small presentation of all the 18 shlokas which is there, which I can share it with all the participants. Maybe you can send me your email IDs. I will send it as a presentation. And I would also request, I think because we are at 8:30, 8:23 right now, we are more than 20-30 minutes. I would request each of the participants to share their life experiences, both at their professional as well as personal lives, the challenges what they are facing, and how they have applied this knowledge, knowingly or unknowingly, in their lives as a solution to that. So if you can share it, I am putting the mail address. We have created a common email ID for that called as myvediclearnings@gmail.com. So I would really request each of the participants to mail it across your experiences, your thought processes, your challenges, what you're facing, and how you would have applied the knowledge, knowingly or unknowingly, to solve that, or if it is not solved. We as a team will try to work on those and come back to you with solutions as per the Upanishadic knowledge, as the Sanatana Dharma, nothing specific to any religion or God. Yeah. With that, I end my session, unless Dr. Venkat Barlagaru has to say something or any of the participants wants to ask a question. It's a welcome. Otherwise, I would like to give my thanks.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Niranjan Garu. It's well said. You can as well share these things in WhatsApp apart from email. So all the WhatsApp numbers are available. So you can share it in the group that we have. So that will be a great thing. And also email IDs will come. You can keep sharing. It will help. Thank you very much. Good night to everybody.
Thank you, Dr. Venkat Barlagaru. Thank you,
Good night.
Tulsi Garu.
Good
Thank you, Dilip Garu, and all the participants whose name I'm not saying, but please
Thank
do
you,
take
sir.
note.
sir.
And then we will
Thank
catch
you,
up again
Varla,
in the
sir.
next time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you,
you,
Barla
sir.
garu.
Thank you,
Thank you,
sir.
Niranjan garu.
Thank you.
Ramarao Garu, thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you,
Dr.
sir. Thank
P. Rao Garu, thank you for coming. Dr. Lakshmi Garu, thank you for
Thank you,
coming.
sir.
Bye-bye.
So I'm closing
Thank
the
you.
Thank you,
session,
sir.
Thank you.